Sigmas, ever noticed how your quiet confidence makes people uncomfortable? Yeah, you're not imagining it. Why does the world seem to have a problem with a man who walks his own path, speaks when necessary, and doesn't seek validation? Imagine you walk into a room, no flashy entrance, no need for attention, just you, unbothered, owning your presence. Within minutes, you feel the tension, people sizing you up, whispering, some feeling threatened, all because you exude an aura of quiet dominance. Sigma confidence is powerful, but let's be real. It can also be hurtful, not just to others, but to you as well. Today, we're breaking down the dark side of Sigma male confidence. The unintended consequences, the psychological warfare it sparks, and why some people simply can't handle it. Carl Jung once said, "A man who stands alone and is self-reliant will always be viewed as a threat by those who cannot do the same." And that, Sigmas, is why your confidence often stirs conflict. Now, let's dive in. Number 1. It triggers insecurity in others. Confidence is a rare currency in a world obsessed with validation. Most people seek approval like a moth to a flame, chasing likes, compliments, and the illusion of acceptance. But you walk through life like a lone wolf, self-sufficient and unbothered by the noise. And that makes people uneasy. Psychologically, this reaction stems from cognitive dissonance, a mental conflict that arises when people see your quiet confidence, it highlights their own dependence on external affirmation. They may not even realize it, but deep down, they feel exposed. Take workplace dynamics, for example. Studies show that people who rely heavily on validation tend to feel threatened by those who don't. If you're the type to do your job without seeking constant feedback, it can make your coworkers feel insecure about their own need for approval. This can lead to subtle forms of sabotage, cold stares, passive-aggressive comments, or exclusion from social circles. The same applies in friendship. If you don't engage in the usual social drama, don't seek constant reassurance, or refuse to follow the herd, some friends might start to distance themselves. Not because you've wronged them, but because your independence makes them question their own choices. Your confidence doesn't need an audience. You don't perform for applause. You exist in your power, and that in itself is enough to shake the very foundation of those who haven't found theirs yet. Number 2. Women are intrigued but also intimidated. Confidence is undeniably attractive, but Sigma confidence, that's a whole different ballgame. Unlike the alpha male, who thrives in the spotlight, the Sigma male moves in silence. He doesn't seek validation, nor does he adjust his personality to fit in. And that air of self-sufficiency, it's magnetic. Women are naturally drawn to mystery. It sparks curiosity and ignites the desire to solve the puzzle. When a woman realizes a Sigma isn't playing hard to get, he is hard to get, her response depends entirely on her level of self-assurance. Psychologically, humans chase what feels unattainable. This is known as reactance theory, the idea that when something feels just out of reach, we want it more. Sigma males unknowingly trigger this response. Their quiet confidence, independence, and selective attention make women wonder, why doesn't he chase like other men? This intrigue can be intoxicating, but only for women who are secure in themselves. A Sigma doesn't drop everything to reply to a text. He has priorities, goals, and a life that doesn't revolve around instant validation. A strong woman finds this refreshing. She respects a man with his own path. An insecure woman, however, sees it as rejection. She may interpret his independence as disinterest or even arrogance, and that's where the divide happens. Ultimately, a Sigma's energy acts as a filter, and the women who are drawn in and stay, they match his strength. The ones who back off, they were never ready for the challenge. Number 3, you stand alone, and that can be isolating. The Sigma lifestyle is powerful, but let's not sugarcoat it. When you refuse to conform, you naturally separate yourself from the herd. Society is built around groups, hierarchies, and social validation. But Sigmas, they reject that framework entirely. Instead of chasing approval, they operate on their own terms, making decisions based on logic, personal values, and self-reliance. This independence is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it grants freedom, freedom from expectations, drama, and a constant need for validation. On the other hand, it creates a gap between the Sigma and the rest of society. Most people struggle to relate to someone who doesn't seek external approval. They don't understand why Sigmas are content being alone or why they walk away from shallow connections. Think about all the times you've chosen solitude over meaningless socializing. It's peaceful. No forced small talk, no pointless drama. But let's be honest, there are moments when the absence of like-minded people feels isolating. Studies show that humans are wired for connection, and even lone wolves occasionally crave deep, intellectual, or meaningful conversations. However, this loneliness isn't a weakness. It's a trade-off. The price of self-mastery is walking a path few are willing to take. While others chase clicks and fleeting validation, the Sigma builds an empire of self-sufficiency. The key is to recognize this loneliness not as suffering, but as a byproduct of greatness. It filters out those who don't truly align with your values, leaving space for only the rare, high-quality connections that genuinely matter. So, is the Sigma lifestyle lonely? Yes, but for those who embrace it, the solitude is not a curse. It's a crucible that forges unshakable strength. Number 4, you're seen as arrogant even when you're not. Sigma males exude a quiet confidence that unsettles those who rely on external validation. Unlike boastful alphas or approval-seeking betas, Sigmas don't feel the need to prove themselves. They don't walk into a room demanding attention, yet their presence is felt. And here's the irony. This very trait, which is rooted in humility and self-assurance, is often misinterpreted as arrogance. Why does this happen? Because society has conditioned people to equate humility with seeking approval. When a Sigma male doesn't engage in the usual social games, fishing for compliments, over-explaining his actions, or seeking permission to be himself, people assume he must think he's superior. In reality, he simply doesn't see the point in validation. Psychologists call this projection. People see in others what they refuse to acknowledge in themselves. When someone says, "You think you're too good for us," what they really mean is, "I need external approval to feel valued," and you don't. It's their insecurity speaking, not your arrogance. Consider historical figures like Nikola Tesla or Clint Eastwood. Both exemplify the Sigma mindset. Tesla focused on his work, uninterested in fame, yet was often labeled eccentric. Eastwood carries an air of quiet strength, mistaken for coldness. Neither sought to impress. They simply were. The takeaway? You don't owe the world explanations. Keep being yourself. True humility isn't about downplaying your strengths to make others comfortable. It's about knowing your worth without needing applause. And if some mistake that for arrogance, that's their problem, not yours. Number 5, your success invites envy. A Sigma male's success isn't an accident. It's a carefully crafted outcome of self-discipline, strategic thinking, and relentless self-improvement. He doesn't rely on shortcuts, social validation, or manipulation to climb the ladder. Instead, he plays the long game, perfecting his craft, outworking the competition, and staying focused. But here's the irony. Instead of inspiring admiration, his success often breeds envy. Why? Because most people want success without sacrifice. They crave the rewards but refuse the discipline. When they see a Sigma winning, without boasting, without seeking approval, without bending the knee to office politics, you outperform your peers, not because you networked your way up, but because your results speak for themselves. You stay late refining your skills, solve problems others overlook, and maintain laser focus on efficiency. So when that well-earned promotion lands in your lap, instead of congratulations, you hear whispers behind your back. Gossip. Attempts to undermine you. Why? Because your rise exposes their complacency. It's easier to call you lucky than admit their own lack of discipline. It's more comfortable to label you cold than acknowledge that you're simply focused. Envy thrives in those who want the rewards but reject the responsibility. Sigma males don't waste energy proving themselves. They let their work do the talking. And while others grumble in the shadows, Sigmas continue winning undistracted, unbothered, and unstoppable. Number 6. You're a threat to weak leadership. Ever had a boss who seemed uneasy around you? It's not your imagination. Weak leaders thrive on control, and Sigma males are impossible to control. Sigmas operate on logic, not blind obedience. You respect leadership, but only when it's earned. This shakes the foundation of insecure bosses, manipulative partners, and fake friends, people who rely on compliance rather than competence. Unlike others who nod along to bad ideas just to stay in good graces, you think for yourself, and that's a threat. Picture this. Your boss makes a questionable decision that could backfire. Instead of staying silent, you voice a well-reasoned concern, not to rebel but to improve the outcome. Instead of appreciation, you're met with hostility. Why? Because weak leaders interpret independent thinking as defiance. They expect submission, not constructive input. History proves this pattern. Innovators like Nikola Tesla and Steve Jobs weren't yes men. They defied flawed authority, causing friction with those who couldn't handle their autonomy. Sigmas function similarly. You don't need approval to validate your intelligence. And when people realize they can't manipulate or intimidate you, they either grow to respect you or resent you. This extends beyond the workplace. Manipulative partners dislike your independence. Fake friends hate that you won't play along with their social games. The uncomfortable truth. Your mere existence disrupts weak individuals who rely on power. Real leaders value independent minds. True friends respect honesty. Strong partners admire confidence. So, when someone's uneasy around you, it's not your problem. It's theirs. Number 7. You filter out fake people. But that means losing many. Sigma confidence is a force that naturally filters out negativity and deception from your life. Unlike people pleasers who tolerate drama for the sake of fitting in, Sigmas have an unwavering sense of self-respect. You don't entertain unnecessary conflicts, fake friendships, or people who thrive on, and because of this, those with hidden agendas tend to vanish from your world, almost as if repelled by an invisible force. This isn't a coincidence. It's psychology in action. Humans are wired to seek out compatible energy. People who operate on deceit, superficiality, or neediness often depend on emotional validation to sustain their influence. But a Sigma male, he doesn't play that game. You see through deception and refuse to feed toxic behaviors with it. When manipulators realize they can't control you, they move on to easier targets. This filtering effect can feel both empowering and isolating. Your social circle becomes smaller but far more authentic. While some might view this as losing people, it's actually a process of refinement. You're left with those who respect your values, appreciate your depth, and don't drain your energy. Think of it like a high-quality security system. If someone isn't bringing honesty, loyalty, or depth into your life, they get naturally locked out of your circle. It's not arrogance, it's self-preservation. And the people who remain, they're the ones who truly belong. So, if you ever wonder why certain individuals seem to fade away, don't be alarmed. Your Sigma confidence isn't just an attitude. It's a filter ensuring that only the real, the strong, and the trustworthy stay in your... Number 8. You struggle to find mentors or equals. Sigmas operate differently from the pack. While alphas seek mentors to refine their dominance and betas look to leaders for direction, Sigmas are self-sufficient explorers. You don't need validation or a roadmap. You create your own. But here's the catch. When you're the one forging the path, who sharpens you? Most men rely on external forces to challenge and refine them. Alphas thrive on rivalry and mentorship, constantly tested by competition. Betas feel secure under leadership, absorbing guidance from those they admire. But for Sigmas, the absence of competition and direction can be a double-edged. When you're always the one thinking ahead, strategizing, and problem-solving, you rarely find someone who truly challenges you. That's why many Sigmas hit a frustrating realization. You've outgrown your environment. Friends, colleagues, even rivals no longer push you because you're playing a different game altogether. This is why Sigmas must be extra intentional about self-growth. Without external forces pushing you, you must become your own rival, setting higher standards, seeking new knowledge, and stepping into new arenas where the challenge remains fresh. The best Sigmas never stagnate. They reinvent themselves before their environment even catches up. While society follows a cycle of leadership and followership, Sigmas stand outside the system. You walk alone, but that doesn't mean you stop moving. Sigmas, your confidence is your greatest weapon, but like any weapon, it can wound if wielded recklessly, or if the world simply can't handle it. Some will admire you, others will resent you, many will misunderstand you. But remember, your path isn't meant to be easy. It's meant to be legendary. If you resonate with this, hit that like button, subscribe, and join this community of high-value men who embrace their Sigma nature and keep walking your own path. Having said this,